Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at huge Pokemon TCG news. Firstly, we've got our first Kadabra card in 20 years, and frankly, that's enough. Alright? That is enough. However, we've also got an attack on Alakazam EX, which we've not seen. And this might just be me. I might be misremembering this. But there is a mechanic at play here that I have never seen before. And let's be 100% clear on this. It's really, really good. Now, the last Kadabra we actually got was back in Skyridge, which came out in English on May the 12th, 2003. This is going to be in the Pokemon 151 set. And there's no chance that the Pokemon 151 set comes out any earlier than October, which means it is legitimately like more than 20 years between Kadabra. We had the whole business with Uri Geller and lawsuits and things along those lines, but we're not going to get into that today. I don't really care, right? Point is, this is a very big deal that Kadabra is actually coming back, and we are getting a proper evolution line. None of that mucking about with other mechanics or anything stupid like that. We are getting a proper job, actual Kadabra card. Which is kind of lovely, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of lovely. So, with all of that borne in mind then, what do we actually have? Our translations here, I should say, from me. I'm a little bit psyched about that. Did the translations all myself like a good boy. Although I checked with lovely Antoine Boulet just in case I'd done a silly. So in terms of the Abra here, there's nothing terribly exciting. In terms of Abra, we've just got a 50 HP Pokemon, and it does 20 damage for 1 energy. Fine. Fun little side note, this is actually drawn by Mitsuhiro Arita, who did do the original Kadabra back in the base set. And like I showed you in the earlier video, these new cards are actually, they're kind of, well, harkening back, I think is the phrase I'm looking for, to the original. And that's kind of awesome, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. The Abra's not kind of awesome. The Abra's fine. I don't think anyone's getting excited about the Abra. But I am getting a little bit excited about the fact that we are, calling back to previous cards. That's kind of cool. But then we get to the Kadabra. And like I've said, first one in 20 years. And it's a little bit sad because, it's never going to be a huge deal. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean in kind of, it's an evolving stage 1. Like, Alakazam EX is always going to be the big deal. Oh, I should say, we're also going to be looking at a tool card in this video that I absolutely despise. It's one of my least favourite cards they printed in a long time. I'm going to have a big rant about that one, but not till we finished up with Kadabra. So yeah, in terms of the Kadabra here, and the whole line is actually done by Arita. The artwork here is stunning. We got 30 damage, and you move to the bench, which will make more sense in a minute. 30 damage for single energy is fine. Moves to the bench so you can get out of the way is fine. There's nothing stunning or special here or anything silly like that, but it's alright. But then we get to Alakazam EX, and I'm not joking when I say Alakazam EX could be a very, very big deal. I don't know that this is going to break the game or anything silly like that, but I absolutely do think there could be some genuinely, legitimately phenomenal decks built around this. Once again, did a translation myself here, checked with a lovely Antoine Boulet just to make sure I'd not done a silly. And the first attack here is fine. 2 colourless energy, 90 damage, plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, bearing in mind that EXs have the right stages, this is a stage 2. Which kind of hurts, honestly, because this is a really good attack. Like a really good attack. If your opponent's got a full bench, then you're doing 150 plus 90 is 240. 240 for 2 colourless energy. That's legit. That's really, really good. The fact that it's on a stage 2, though, is a little bit of a problem, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's bad. And certainly, if you're playing the stage 2, 2 colourless energy, 240, or your opponent doesn't fill their bench to try and thwart you, but I've made this point in many videos over the years, anytime your opponent is deliberately not doing what they want to do in an attempt to hurt you, that's a win for you. That's a good thing. But then what we see is a second attack, and this second attack is brilliant. 2 energy, 120. That's not the brilliant bit, alright? 2 energy, 120 is not brilliant. The brilliant bit is, you can use this attack from the bench. Now, we don't see proper brand new things in terms of mechanics that often in the Pokemon TCG, and then that's to be expected, right? The game's been going for 25 years. There's only so many different things you can do. That's why we see some, mechanics that are very much reminiscent of older things. It's nothing nefarious or anything silly like that. It's a game that's been going for a quarter of a century. This seems new. I don't remember a Pokemon that can attack from the bench. Now, if I am being dumb, please do correct me in the comment section, as I always say. If I'm making a mistake, I do want to be corrected. That's pretty important. The thing is, we've got a bunch of things at the moment where this becomes great. Like just in Scarlet and Violet, we've got Klefki. Now, Klefki's got a phenomenal ability whereby when it's in the active, basic Pokemon don't have abilities. And I got asked about this a couple of pre-releases I went to. And my answer, basically how good is Klefki? And my answer for Klefki was basically the same every time. And the answer for how good is Klefki is, it is great for buying time, but you don't really do any damage or any meaningful damage. And what that means is that it's great for buying a bit of time, you get set up, but then you have to get something else. You have to move into some kind of attacker because it's not good enough after that. It is fine for buying time. It turns off a lot of decks at the beginning of the game. There's a lot of basic Pokemon with abilities that are good right now. But it doesn't actually do any damage. So you basically sit there and go, okay, fine. Let's buy a bit of time, get set up, and then start smashing. But that's no longer the case, because now you start with Klefki, your opponent has no abilities on their basic Pokemon, so they're slowed down, you get an Alakazam out as fast as possible, and you can do it turn 2, if you get a decent draw, and then all of a sudden, Klefki sits in the active with Mischievous Lock, but you also get to do 120 damage a turn. And like 120 damage for 2 energy on stage 2 isn't great. The attack is fine. If you're attacking with Alakazam, unless they've got no bench Pokemon, just use the first attack. What is important here is the fact that you can hide behind something, like a Klefki, and then be sitting here doing a huge amount of damage. That is what is so gosh darned important about this, and this is a really big deal. We know that in Snow Hazard we are getting a Mimikyu, a basic Pokemon, Psychic for what it's worth. This Pokemon does not take damage from your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V's attacks. It's Safeguard, but it's from EXs and V's, which makes it great. So now you leave Mimikyu in the active, and sure, your opponent can gust around and try and get the bench and all of that, and if they do, fine. But unless your opponent has some kind of gusting, then what you can do here is just leave Mimikyu in the active while you swing with Alakazam. Now, I actually like Klefki a little bit better, because Mimikyu, your opponent just sets up and looks for gusting, but Klefki, the goal here is that your opponent literally cannot get set up, and then you just sit there kind of laughing. And don't forget that in Snow Hazard and Clayburst, or in Clayburst specifically, we've also got Ting Lu. And Ting Lu's got that ability whereby when it's active, Pokemon with damage counters on other than EXs have no abilities. So if you've got an evolved Pokemon that's not an EX, Ting Lu can turn them off. Unfortunately, if it is an evolved EX, it won't be turned off by Klefki because it's an evolved Pokemon, and it won't be turned off by Ting Lu because, it's an EX. That's a problem, but you can see where we're going with this. This is a 5 Wassy card. I love this. It's a stage 2. I am fully aware that it's a stage 2, and I could end up looking silly with this. I adore this card. I'm going to build around this. For Klefki, get Klefki out nice and early, and if you can slow your opponent down for a few turns, just start hitting 120 with Alakazam, you're going to win some short games here because your opponent literally just cannot set up. I like Alakazam. I feel like it's Saturday and I'm not supposed to be working, but I'm doing videos because there's exciting cards out, and I'm maybe getting a bit too excited, and I don't care. But I'm not excited about this next card. I legit hate this next card. It's Safety Goggles. And I translated this myself, and then I went, Well, you know what? I must have mistranslated this, but no, the lovely Anton Billet has confirmed. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to has no weakness. I hate this card. I absolutely hate this card. It's too good. It's too good. It's one of those ones, it's basically telling us to just play big basics. We are getting a really good format at the moment, which is telling us to go and play evolution decks, and now we've got this card which rewards you for playing big, gigantic, basic Pokemon. And I know that we got cards like Ting-Lu and Snow Hazard and Clayburst and blah, blah, blah. No, I hate it. Because when I'm making counter decks, and if you've been following my career as a player at all, you'll know I love making counter decks. The best way to make counter decks into Pokemon TCG is hitting for weakness. That's the deal. But I can't hit for weakness if they have no weakness. And just having a Pokemon tool that you can attach to a basic Pokemon, and it just completely takes away their weakness, no ifs, buts, or maybes. I hate this card. And I tell my kids not to use that word. The hate word, because it's not a very nice word. It's a mean word. We don't say hate in my family, but I hate this card. Really hope my kids aren't listening to me record this video, because they will not be happy with Daddy saying hate so much. But it's a kind of card that in my eyes restricts deck creativity. It gives a far too good boost to basic Pokemon, and it just makes people play big basic Pokemon, and then I want to turn around with my stupid counter decks hitting for weakness, but I can't do that against basic Pokemon, and this is going to see a huge amount of play. Like, I told you I was being a little bit enthusiastic giving 5 Wossie to Alakazam. This is a hands down slam dunk, no question 5 Wossie card. This is a phenomenal card that is going to see a ridiculous amount of play. But I hate what this does to the game. I really strongly, very strongly dislike what this does to the game, because I really do think it's going to make people go, well, I can just play these big basic EXs, and we got some, we're going to get more, and then all I need to do is whack this card on there, and then yay, I don't have any weakness anymore, and that's amazing. Boo! I dislike this card. The good news is, we got our first Kadabra in 20 years, we got Alakazam that can legitimately attack from the bench, and I had to mention this card because it's huge and it's going to see a ridiculous amount of play. I just don't like it. Right, there we go. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about Alakazam attacking from the bench. Tell me if the wait for Kadabra was worth it. Tell me if you dislike safety goggles as much as I do. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. Oh, and you can, of course, get shout-outs on the channel. Mustn't be forgetting that one now, should we? Like the lovely Kenneth, who's been a supporter of ours for a while and is a very lovely person, so thank you very much for all the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.